There's nothing like Broadway, kid, nothing so grand, where each purple feather is perfectly fun.
Hello there, I am David Rackoff, the writer and composer of the upcoming off-Broadway musical, Nothing Like Broadway, and today we are going to analyze a song that I love, Bring Him Home from Les Miserables.
He's young, he's afraid, let him rest, heaven blessed, bring him.
So pretty. All right, so Les Miserables. Les Miserables is a pop opera. It is long. It's like 3.5 hours, and it's based on a book that's super long. It's like 1,200 pages. It's the story of Jean Valjean, who is our hero, who goes from being a sort of angry convict, and then his sort of heroic journey as he becomes a better and better person. And then, spoiler alert, he has a very peaceful death at the end of the show. And so one of the things that I think is best about Les Miserables, the musical, is how they organized it. Like, I read the novel a long time ago, and it is just all over the place. There's a million characters. There are like little history lessons here and there, and it is just, it's so much. And so one of the things that the musical did really, really well is they organized it. They combined characters, cut subplots, cut history lessons, and so they made it so that it really does have a nice flow from beginning, middle, and end. Within the context of musical theater, another thing that I think is Les Miserables' sort of secret sauce is that there's something called an 11 o'clock number. And that's like usually about 3/4 of the way through Act 2, like the big, belted out to the rafters, emotional climax of the show song. And what Les Miserables does is it's basically like, hey, it's 11 o'clock somewhere. All the characters basically have an 11 o'clock number all over the place. Like, I Dreamed a Dream is Fantine's big 11 o'clock number. It happens like a half hour into the show. And like, that song alone would normally be the big hit emotional climax of most shows. And yet Les Mis is like, hey, we're going to give Javert an 11 o'clock number, we're going to give Eponine an 11 o'clock number, we're going to give Marius an 11 o'clock number. It is just chock-a-block with 11 o'clock numbers, which I absolutely love. And that's something, in fact, that I, for Nothing Like Broadway, the show that I wrote, I basically wanted to have lots of 11 o'clock numbers too. I think it's great. I feel like that's part of the reason I go see a show, is to have a big, awesome, standalone, grand moment for a character and for a singer and vocally. And so why not have more of them than just one? Like in Cats, like Memory is the 11 o'clock number, right? It's like the only ballad. It's, sung the hell out of. But Les Mis is like, we're just going to have lots of them all over the place, which I think is a great choice. In the show, though, when it started rehearsal, apparently, there was no Jean Valjean 11 o'clock number. He has 2 big solos in like the first half of Act 1, and then no solos in Act 2. And so they were like, we kind of need to like put a big song for him. And also they had Cole Wilkinson, who is an amazing actor and singer, who just has this gorgeous sort of effortless tenor rock sort of voice. And so they had to write a song for him. Basically, they kind of, I don't want to say it was in their heads, but it seems like they basically were like, okay, we need something right about here, which is about 3/4 of the way through Act 2, which, is like 2 hours and 45 minutes into the show. We really need to see something again from a solo from Valjean. And so it takes place at the barricades after there's been some fighting. Marius, who's like our sort of young, I don't know, like our young sort of, he's not the hero, but he's like the young guy who's the boyfriend of Cosette, who is Jean Valjean's daughter, and Marius is injured, and so Cole Wilkinson, or Jean Valjean, is about to carry and save Marius because he seems like a good guy. Now, in the context of the show, we don't really see a lot of interaction between Marius and Valjean. And in fact, Valjean kind of was a dick about him pretty recently, like 10 minutes before, because, it's like his daughter's boyfriend, like who cares? But in the context of the show, in musical theater terms, they need a big moment for Jean Valjean, and for him to do something that's selfless and heroic, and for his daughter, who we do care about their relationship between Valjean and Cosette. And so that's what this is. It's at night. All the people are sleeping or dead, who are all the revolutionary guys, and Valjean realizes that Marius is injured but alive. It just gets very quiet. There's just a solo spotlight. He's on his knees, basically like praying, and he sings this song. And it is just a gorgeous song. And so even though, when you really stop to think about it, why is his big song singing about bringing his daughter's boyfriend home, like that shouldn't kind of be the emotional center of the show, and yet in musical theater terms it is, and also in the sort of bigger themes of the show. It's kind of about the Old Testament vengeful eye for an eye kind of God versus the New Testament turn the other cheek kind of God. And Javert, who's the police guy who's been chasing down Jean Valjean for the whole show, is kind of the Old Testament stern God, and he has a song, Stars, in Act 1, where he explains where he's coming from. Bring Him Home is basically Valjean's sort of Act 2 answer to that. And so that is basically where this song began, as they kind of came, I think, again, I'm sort of assuming, I know a little bit about it, but I'm mostly just putting in my interpretation of what they were thinking. But they were thinking, okay, we need a song for Valjean here. This is kind of the only place for it. So it's going to have to be about why he wants to save Marius and why we should, as the audience, care. And then the other thing is that Colm Wilkinson, the guy who was playing Valjean, has been singing his ass off the whole show, but we haven't really heard his beautiful, soft head voice, which Colm Wilkinson has an unbelievably gorgeous, beautiful, soft head voice. So it's like, okay, let's showcase that. So we want it to be pretty, kind of spiritual, Colm Wilkinson's head voice. And that is basically, I think, that the genesis of this song. So musically, I don't want to get too in the weeds, but in a chord, you have the first, the third, and the fifth usually. So like in a C, E, G, G is the fifth. And as a composer, you know that like the fifth is really pretty. Like it always really sounds pretty. It can be sort of cliched because you just try not to use it too much because it's such an easy way to have something sound pretty. Sort of like a painter painting flowers. Don't do that too much probably because that's kind of a little bit cheap. But you also know if you want something to look prettier, put some flowers in there. And also, if you're going to do a painting that's just the flowers, then make it the prettiest painting in the world. And that is what they have done with this song. So you have, the song is, I think, in A major. And so E is the fifth of that chord. And so instead of even worrying about any of the other notes in the song, it is just fifth, 5, which is an E, and then jump up an octave to the same exact note to an E. And it's just pretty, 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 like mainlining pretty, pretty, pretty. And that's something I think that's really, I don't know, like it's a really ballsy choice to just be like, okay, I know this can be this is a little bit of a shortcut, but we are just going to take that and we are going to exploit that and make it the prettiest thing you've ever heard. And so that's basically what the song is about. It's all about those first 2 notes or 3 notes, which is just the same note. It's the 5th degree of the scale, jumping up an octave to another 5th degree of the scale, and it sounds gorgeous. So vocally, this is a song that really, I think, is built around vocal performance. And Les Mis, the whole show, is a lot of a sort of vocal athleticism. That's part of the reason, at least I go see Les Mis over and over again, is you want to see all these different people who have all these different really challenging songs, how they handle that, how well they do and how they do it in different ways. And so this song most of the songs are more belty. This song is very head voicey, mixy, and it's really never even chest. It really is just head voice to mix and how the sort of push and the pull of that sounds on the singer's voice, which is when Colm Wilkinson was the original singer, that hadn't really been exploited in the show up to that point. And so it just blows your socks off. Like I was a kid when I went and saw Les Mis with the original cast a million years ago. And yeah, it's so pretty. It's so, in this sort of loud show, it's so quiet and so beautiful. And all the other singers who have sung the song subsequently are basically doing their riff on how Colm Wilkinson interpreted it, but also how it was written to sit in his voice. Like when you have that jump at the beginning, you're going from his sort of more lower sort of speaking register up into the sort of really beautiful bell tone resonant part of his head voice. And then the lyrics of this song really are kind of just there to support the music, to support the vocal. And this is a song that does that really, really well. When you're singing, it's a lot easier on a higher note to sing an open vowel, like an ah versus like an e or an ooh sound. And so bring him home is this very open sound, bring him joy. These are all sounds that are very appropriate to sing in the places that the song is set. And like a counterexample to this is the song Music of the Night from Phantom. The big belty climax of that song is let your mind take you where you long to be. And it's this very high, loud, belty sound on a closed eval, which is very hard to do, like unnecessarily hard. And so it's, it's kind of fun watching different singers negotiate that in different ways. But it's also just makes something harder that doesn't really need to be harder, I would say. And even just the phrase bring him home is a very gooey phrase. And what I mean by that is it's bring him home. Like there's not a lot of like hard consonants in there. It's all just one phrase that makes singing it legato, which is like sort of smooth and connected, very easy. Like to give a counterexample of what those lyrics could have been is, let's say it was bring Gus back. Like just we're imagining that the Marius character's named Gus. So if you had to sing bring Gus back, like that's so much uglier than bring him home. And that's something that as a lyricist, it's really important to sort of realize, okay, this is about the music, this is about the vocal. My job as a lyricist now is just to support that and have things that are easy to sing that aren't going to get in the way of the melody and that are going to support the melody and the singer. And that's what the song does very, very well. Another interesting thing about how the music and the lyrics work together is the song is in A, but that note is almost never sung throughout the whole song. It's all based on the fifth, the E. And so throughout the song, the very first time I think that we hear the home, basically one of the notes, the root note for the song, it's in A, is an A. But you almost never hear that note sung. One of the very first times when it says, let him rest, heaven blessed, and all of a sudden that's an A. So you're like letting it rest on the note that the home note. You're literally the song, the melody is being brought home. So let him rest, heaven blessed. We're back on the A. And then it goes, bring him home, bring, in like a really high, which is a G sharp, which is as close as you can get to the high A, which is what the song is all about, but it's not quite reaching it. So that's sort of exciting, but it's like not there. And then the first time we hear the high A natural, which is what the song is sort of reaching toward, is the summers die one by one, how soon they fly. Soon is that high A, which is really satisfying, but it's just very quick, and we're just off that note soon. So you don't get to hear like the beauty of that note. It's just touched on, and the word soon is a perfect word for that. And then, of course, the song is finally leading up to the very end, where it's bring him home, bring him home, bring him home, which is on that high A, in soft head voice, in this very heavenly, it's up high, it's in Cole Wilkinson or whoever's singing, it's beautiful, beautiful head voice. And so it's just all of a sudden bringing us finally at the very end of the song to exactly where we want the song to go, which is the home note in the high head voice. And it's such a satisfying ending to a song. And it's also kind of foreshadowing Valjean's upcoming imminent heavenly death. Right? We're not really, because the song, half the audience is crying during the song, especially at the very end of the song. We're not really crying for, like, Marius. Like, we're not really that invested in Marius compared to Valjean. It's Valjean and Cosette, but we kind of know that, okay, this character's been getting older and older and older throughout the show. His life's purpose is being fulfilled, and, probably at the end of this tragic show, our main character is going to die, but it's going to be in a peaceful way. The song is letting us know, hey, guys, yes, his death is coming, but he is going to be peaceful. He's set things right that he had set wrong before. He's going to make his daughter happy. She's going to be happy with Marius. And so that's really why we're crying at the end of this song, not because we care that much about Marius, sorry. And one other thing about the song is because it's so simple, but like perfect, both musically and vocally, it's set so nicely. Like, I, who is not a piano player, I can kind of play this song on piano, and me, who is not a tenor and not like a great singer, I can sing this song. Like, it's surprising to me how well I can play and sing this song, because it is just so well written for as like a vocal and straightforward piece. But I cannot sing it, nearly as well as any of the people who have sung it on stage, especially Cole Wilkinson. And so in a second, we're going to listen to Colm Wilkinson singing Bring Him Home. So this has been the Nothing Like Broadway podcast. Please follow us on Nothing Like Broadway on Instagram and on Facebook, and visit our website, nothinglikeBroadway.com. And you can leave your email so that we can give you updates as we get closer and closer to the show Nothing Like Broadway actually premiering off-Broadway. And in the meantime, here is Colm Wilkinson singing Bring Him Home.
God on high, hear my prayer. In my need